Hey guys, welcome back to Total Tactics Football. It's Fran here, and we'll be kind of unveiling a new series, which is a hidden gem series that's going to be looking at players that we would like to add into our watch list, after the previous game week. And of course, after game week 1, we have a list of 4 players that I think are on the lookout right now for us. Some in the more near future and some in the medium term future. The pick that I would like to actually look at first is going to be Mbeumo. Mbeumo and also the Brentford side overall really impressed me. In fact, I would actually like to say and mention that I think in the medium term, I think the defensive options for Brentford and the goalkeeping options could be interesting options to look for, especially if Brighton don't deliver as we expect. But going back to Mbeumo, what I actually was really impressed with by him is first of all, Brentford's kind of change in their tactics from the previous season. What you'll note from last year is that they were playing more of an orthodox kind of 4-3-3 formation, whereas now they have switched into a 3-5-2 formation, and that incorporates playing Canos at right wing back at times, although he has a free roaming role to move into that left wing position where he scored versus Arsenal. And Mbeumo, on the other hand, has moved from being a more traditional right winger to almost like a deep lying forward who is able to kind of be a kind of fast striker in a sense, and he's able to run into through balls and kind of run against the shoulder of defenders, whereas Toney is more of a central kind of target man striker right now in this formation. You'll see in this kind of instance here that Mbeumo was able to run off of Ayer's beautiful cross, and you can see his ability to actually carry the ball and direct it all the way to the box. And the added element that I think he has over some kind of other strikers is that he has that technical skill to actually beat defenders one-on-one. In fact, to be frank here, like he beats the Arsenal defense 3-on-1. It was actually quite crazy to see how technical he was on the ball and how creative he is as a player in that sense. But I do think there's an element of clinicalness missing. Ultimately, he still managed to get 9 goals and 8 assists last season in the right wing role. I'm just thinking about projecting ahead for the Premier League. He might not be the most clinical player, but moving in striker, he definitely will get more chances. And I think at 5.5, you're getting fantastic value at an out of position player. So he's definitely one to look out for, and someone that you could probably already think to transfer into your team if you had someone like Emil Smith-Rowe and he didn't seem to work out, plus Odegaard is coming in. The next player that I'm quite interested in right now is going to be Tanganga from Tottenham. Now, Tanganga is interesting because I think many people didn't expect him to be starting for Tottenham this season. There's Doherty in the team and Aurier as well, but I think Aurier seems to be moving on from Tottenham. It doesn't seem like he's part of Nuno's plans, whereas someone like Doherty, it remains to be seen whether there's going to be kind of a competition for that right back position. But it seems like for the early part of the season, we've seen Nuno instill kind of a little bit of faith and confidence in Tanganga. What I like about that is, we saw Tanganga in the Arsenal preseason game, and that's where I actually thought he's shown a lot for me. His physicality and his kind of presence in terms of how he presses the ball, how he defends the ball, I think really helped Tottenham's kind of 4-back structure. And you'll see even high up the field, you see that Tanganga presses deeply and make sure that Tottenham can kind of continue to actively press opponents. And his work rate was actually what allowed him to actually get an assist. You'll see as the play kind of develops, he's really out-muscling defenders. Pablo Mari as an example here, after he pushes the ball inward and works with his Tottenham teammate to get into the box. And then he kind of finds a really nice, perfect pass to Son, who of course with his clinicalness is able to kind of score in the near post. But overall, I think, a lot of people are going to be looking at that kind of Man City game and thinking, he plays a very defensive role for the team. Ultimately, though, what I would counter that is just say that not every team is going to be Man City. He won't have to be dealing with the threats of Grealish and Sterling every week. And I think Tottenham's fixtures are actually rather nice after Wolves. So that's 2 weeks potentially where you get a lot of value from a 4.5 defender. A lot of people as well are going to be making the comparison to Reguilon, and I do think there's a comparison there because you could argue that Reguilon is a much better attacking player and he might be worth that 0.5 difference. I don't actually think that's the case now. I think Tottenham are a side that build fewer chances but have a very strong defensive base, so it probably makes sense to just go for a 4.5 defender. Reguilon, however, is someone who still is able to kind of play off the ball a little bit better, so he's always kind of looking for runs in behind as a team, and he can also carry the ball like a winger almost at times, and that's kind of what he brings to the table. I wouldn't say he's the most clinical player, but sometimes, especially in Sevilla, he was able to get into the box and kind of look for great shots on target. But if we move away from Tottenham, I think a fantastic kind of fullback option is going to be Tierney. Now, he's more of a medium-term option because we know that Arsenal have some really, really tough fixtures in the next 2 weeks. And because of that, of course, I wouldn't be looking at getting him in my team now. In fact, he could probably drop in value in the future, which would be fantastic for us as FPL managers. I think all you have to look at is kind of the statistics in the Brentford game, and then also kind of look at the eye test as well. He created boundless amounts of opportunities for his team through crosses, but also has the opportunity and senses the availability of being able to kind of arrive at the box and actually create even more threatening direct chances. So you can see in this still here where he actually is out of frame for a second because he's playing so high up in the field, and Xhaka kind of finds him. So he has a very good partnership with Xhaka there, and he's usually always trying to at least get into the box, or at least get a cross into the box in these kind of stills here, where he's playing a little bit more deep, waiting for someone to cut inside, such as Martinelli, the winger here, and then he kind of stays out wide as a left winger looking for a beautiful cross. Now, the last option that I'm going to be looking at for this hidden gems video is going to be someone like Livramento. Livramento is really interesting for me because there's a clear drawback to him, which is the fact that he's playing for Southampton. And as we know, and as we probably expect, Southampton are going to struggle this year due to the fact that they've lost a few key signings, namely Ings and Vestergaard. And I don't think they've necessarily kind of reinvested that money yet into the team. I do think Livramento is a fantastic option, but they do already have a strong option and someone who could rotate with Livramento in the short term in terms of Kyle Walker-Peters. It does seem, though, that Livramento is very much favored by Hasenhüttl. And that's, of course, a huge benefit for someone looking at a 4.0 defender, because the issue with 4-point defenders right now is the fact that Tsimikas is probably going to be rotated out as soon as Robertson's fit. And we're, of course, a little bit scared of the fact that Robertson could be rotated back into the structure because it seems like his injury kind of recovery is going faster than expected. On top of that, we know Amarte is probably going to be displaced by Vestergaard. So that means that we're looking at players like Livramento, Hover, and Omobamidele as a 4.0 options. And I think out of all those players, Livramento is clearly the most technical player that we can have in this team. You can see in the still here where he's able to drive into the midfield. And this is, of course, something that we saw with Cancelo last year and something that we praised Pep for doing, allowing Cancelo to push up into the middle of the park at times, and then also kind of being able to play an overlapping role with the right winger when the winger cuts inside. And I think Livramento shows all of these attributes, and you can see that reflected in his kind of heat maps as well. Here's a situation in the preseason where Livramento was able to kind of arrive into the box and move into the middle of the center of the park and actually dictate things almost like a midfielder. This is all part of course, Southampton's pressing structure. It allows for him to play a little bit more of an attacking role, and I do think he has a bit more of an ability to kind of play in higher areas of the field. So there could also be, a potential, I think, likelihood that Walcott gets displaced by Livramento if let's say Hasenhüttl wants to play with both Livramento and Kyle Walker-Peters. But that's it for now for this video, guys. This is going to be my hidden gems video. It was a kind of short, snippy video that I think where I'd like to kind of uncover what I think are solid picks for the next kind of 3-4 game weeks or maybe in the medium term. And I'll keep this updated, but the idea was just to kind of look at differential picks who have rather low ownership right now, but could, really rise and be a quintessential part of our teams in the future. Thank you guys for watching.